All right, welcome back to Equity Guru. We're talking today to the crew out at AMPD. AMPD is the ticker symbol. Boys, do you want to introduce yourselves?
Hi there, I'm Anthony Brown. I'm the CEO of AMP Ventures.
Hi, I'm Adam Rogers. I'm the co-founder of Departure Lounge, which is a part of AMP Ventures.
So I would think that of all of the clients that I have, AMP is often the most misunderstood. Part of that is because you guys are shooting for the moon, and technology-wise, people don't necessarily understand things like what volumetric capture is. But part of it also is that a lot of the deals that you do are commercial in confidence, right? You can't go out and news release, we're charging this client X number of dollars, because otherwise the next client's going to say, I want a discount on that. Like, how much of a struggle is it on your end to just get the word out about all the good things you're doing?
Well, there's good and bad to it. I mean, on the one hand, there's some amazing things that the Departure Lounge is doing that actually goes out in regular media. So it may not be press released, but it goes out. I mean, for example, we were just recently in DJ Magazine, or at least Adam was in DJ Magazine, and we got the cover of DJ Magazine for the project that Adam did. Pretty impressive stuff. Now, that doesn't go out necessarily as a press release, and there are some challenges in getting investors to hear about those sorts of things, but that's why you're here, Chris. We want to, take advantage of the take advantage of that. That's why I have Adam here, and we're going to try and fix that a little bit. But yeah, so I mean, as much as we are somewhat challenged with being able to specifically call out the revenues associated with specific deals, we obviously are going to be putting out quarterly financials, and you'll eventually be able to see what the upside of those deals are as they hit the financials, and we can certainly talk about them and give an idea of scope and an idea of size, give examples of, for example, we do have a stated amount that we charge for processed minute, for example. And so, people can start to draw their own conclusions, I suppose.
Let's get into that. Like, Departure Lounge is obviously, it's right there behind you. It's set up. It's, one of, if not the largest volumetric capture studios around
in the world.
In the world. And obviously this is an area where, if people don't understand what volumetric capture is, it's like, it's not just the where you are in the picture, it's where you are in the space, right? It's to be able to properly utilize things like VR, and allow people to not just watch a music video, but stand alongside the artist as they're performing the music video. This is how it's done. So to have the biggest one of those in the world is pretty advanced stuff. But the devil in the details is always, are people using it? What's the booking schedule like on Departure Lounge right now?
It's been what you have to do with volumetric, and when you bring it to a new market, because obviously London, Los Angeles, established filmmaking hubs, a lot of content creation, and Vancouver is second to that, if not coming up far behind, because of the amount of work that's being done through film, television, visual effects. And so video games, and being sort of up and running since August, what we've been doing is entertaining many different sectors of the creative content pipelines to be able to bring them here and show them how much value this tool can give them in their creative processes. Secondly, what we've been doing internally is, with our team, building our expertise and building products that we can show people and say, hey, this is what you get, and this is what the cost advantages is, because that's really the thing here. And referring back to the DJ Magazine piece, that's a project where we've partnered with Monster Cat, a Vancouver label, and it enabled their artists to come to the studio to be captured as a 3D object. And the first iteration of that project was to create a 2D music video. Well, traditionally, you would have had to gone back and reshoot new material, create new assets for a VR experience or an augmented reality experience. But the exciting part here is we're now actually creating a VR experience out of those same assets that were used for the 2D music video. And that piece, and I'm very excited to say, has been selected for the official showcase of the South by Southwest XR showcase this year. But for the industry as a whole, these projects that we're doing really show the value chain, because what you're doing is creating more product out of a single piece of content that you've created. And I think that is really exciting for content creators, because it gives them more opportunity to express themselves among these different mediums, but then not only express yourselves, but monetize this product in multiple verticals, depending on the type of devices that people have to use.
So if what I'm understanding is right, essentially once you've shot the video, you could put out multiple versions of the video going forward every 6 months if you wanted to.
Yeah, and you can
reimagine new footage.
Yeah, reimagine things. And again, as everything is a 3D asset, you can just sort of, it's a jigsaw puzzle, break it apart after the first iteration, put it back together and create something unique. And that's what we're demonstrating with Whipped Cream for Dark.
Got it.
Yeah, and as far as bookings and everything else, the stage basically went live in September, and the bookings have been flooding in. A lot of it is in great thanks to Adam and his team here at Departure Lounge, where we're not only shooting not just one music video. We can't say what the other one is yet, but we are shooting another music video. Can I say it's heavy metal?
You can.
I can say it's heavy metal. Heavy metal with lots of cool like visual effects in it and so on.
Well, what I'd like to say about that as well is what we're doing here is it's not a full volumetric music video, but again, it's showing where that technology fits in, because there's certain shots that they're trying to do that through the traditional VFX and practical film setups would cost them hundreds of thousands of dollars. But for 3 of the shots, they're now able to come in here and capture those shots in a much more cost-effective way. Cost-effective for them, but high revenue for us, because the cost of process minutes at the moment is so high, because the technology is so advanced that it needs those kind of costs associated to be able to do. But again, what you pay at the beginning gives you so much more value through the whole chain of pipelines that you'll be working in creatively.
So you're getting data instead of flat image.
Exactly, and a complete ability to maneuver, position, and place, and create around that as much as you would like.
And we're also doing commercials. We're actually doing some tests for film, actually, for a virtual production shoot. They're creating worlds. I mean, if you don't mind talking a little bit about that, I mean, one of the things that actually makes this stage unique is that they're not only doing volumetric capture and supplying those assets, but then their creative team is actually building the worlds and building the experiences for those assets to live in. So the video that Adam was talking about, it was the Departure Lounge creative team that built that every tree and every asset, everything that you see in that world was all created by the Departure Lounge team. And that is kind of a similar case across the board, where we're looking at not only engaging in doing the capture, but then also using other technologies. You're also using motion capture as well here for one of the projects. Can you talk a little bit about that project?
Yeah, well, this is a great project because it kind of hits all the points for metaverse, 3D capture, and object placement. So I'm sure many viewers are familiar with the Shiba Inu crypto coin. They are making a metaverse play. They are building a very advanced multi-hub metaverse that will contain multi-functional stuff, including games like health and well-being. And this is going to be across a multi-platform, so VR, AR, on PC and mobile. So we're building the worlds with the Shiba Inu team, but also creating the objects to place in them. We even captured the 2 Shiba Inu dogs volumetrically that are placed in that. So, as we transition into 3D worlds and the metaverse, we're complementing all of it. We can supply assets that you can place in your own worlds that you're building, or as we kind of like to do, because it's fun and creative, is actually create those worlds for you. Okay. Another area that I think is really going to explode, and it's out there in the world to see on YouTube, for the Whitney Houston biopic that has just come out. Literally all of the background that was captured or shot was captured on a volumetric capture stage like this. And through that, we're going to see an explosion of productions now seeing, oh, this definitely makes sense for our movie. And that gives us more into Hollywood than ever before with this technology.
Got it. So you guys are also, if I understand it, you're building more studios for clients around the world. Is that right?
Yeah, so there are currently we've only announced one of the projects that we're doing that with, which is the new studio, Metaverse studio that they're building in Thailand, in Bangkok, and with a company called Cloud 11, and the developer Magnolia Quality Development Corp is building this giant facility, and we're looking at being able to build a departure lounge within that facility. So we're just completing the consulting portion of that engagement, which Adam has been very helpful with. And once that is completed, the idea is that we then move on to the actual build and operation of a departure lounge in that territory. We are looking at several others that are not yet announced in the fairly near term. I can say that there is one in Europe that we're working on. I can't give any more detail than that, but there is a big one in Europe that we're working on. When we announce that in the next month or so, we'll be able to give you a little bit more detail there. But yeah, the idea is that not only are we operating this stage here, the departure lounge here in Vancouver, we're going to continue to open new stages and operate those stages around the world.
So does that require you to go out and get a whole bunch of money to afford all that?
Not really. The way that most of them are approaching it is that they're willing to make an investment in the technology. Okay. So through AMP Technologies, we supply the stage, we supply the infrastructure, the computing, all the things that's required to run the studio, and then Departure Lounge comes in as an operational partner to operate the stage. And usually they're actually investing in the initial stages of that as well. So right now, the deals that are currently on the table anyway, just, you know, the where we're at as a company and so on, just requires that we kind of remove risk from an investment perspective into those enterprises. And we've been able to do that in partnership with these companies where they're willing to make that investment themselves up front. We have an actual profitable engagement out of the gate to deploy these systems and then to operate them. It does come down to a rev share eventually, but the risk is taken out in the initial stages with them making the investment.
So they're making their money long term, you're making your money short and long term.
That's right.
And I imagine that the data that comes out of these setups, that AMP has to handle that as well.
Yeah, so the AMP Technologies infrastructure is what supports the Departure Lounge now. It's what will be supporting the subsequent stages and that we build, including, you know, it's not just the Departure Lounge volumetric capture systems, but it's also, as you know, and you've met Steve Reed over at Versatile, it'll also be those large LED walls. For example, there is one of those as part of the project and what we're doing in Thailand, and part of the project that we'll be doing in Europe. And those are, you know, substantial. They take a lot of compute to run. Yeah. They're generally somewhere in the range of low 8 figures for the initial purchase of one of those stages. And then we're looking at, you know, 100 plus, you know, A6000 GPUs, 100 plus big ass graphics cards required to run those stages.
And being used for the purpose they were designed, not mining crypto.
That's correct. Yes, they're well, I mean, these would be, you know, each one of those cards, to give you an idea, if you were to just go and buy one retail, each one of those cards is about $5,000. Not really efficient to buy, to operate, to mine crypto with. And, you know, but they're designed to do real-time graphics rendering, which is what we use it for, and also to do artificial intelligence. For example, we use the same A6000 architecture that we use to do graphics processing, to do research into drugs, into initially therapeutics for COVID. They've now, this is variational AI, one of the customers we've talked about in the past. They've now expanded to go beyond just therapeutics for COVID-19, and are now exploring other different types of drugs using artificial intelligence to identify the most likely drugs to go through testing. I believe they've already gotten a couple of them into testing now based on using that platform.
Everyone right now is clearly in love with AI because they've all had a chance to play around with an avatar generator. But AI obviously goes a lot different ways from just making Chris look like Superman for his Twitter bio. You guys, I think it's one of the least known things about AMPD is at its base, at the high performance computing base of the company, that you guys are already dealing with AI on a grand scale.
Absolutely. You know, we announced variational AI pretty early on. I think the first deal we did with them was probably in 2020 or even late. Yeah, I believe it was in 2020 when we did the first deal with them. But they've now more than tripled the amount of computing that they consume from AMPD since then, and that continues to grow. And we're looking at ways here at Departure Lounge to be able to leverage artificial intelligence, machine vision learning to increase the fidelity of the assets that they create. The artificial intelligence is not just a matter of, you know, ChatGPT. I mean, this is a ubiquitous platform that's being applied to all kinds of things. Artificial intelligence was used in the digital twinning project that we did with Boeing and Avcor to do a digital twin of an aerospace manufacturing plant. It's used in almost all facets of what we do. So to have a high performance computing platform that's capable of being, you know, super low latency and high fidelity graphics rendering, it turns out it is this same type of computing, the same type of infrastructure that's required to do artificial intelligence.
And obviously the companies that are dealing with real AI as opposed to, you know, customer service script bots require much more bespoke hosting than just going to AWS and jumping on the Black Friday servers.
Yeah, so there's a few different types of workloads that artificial intelligence uses. So there's the machine learning component where you're basically going through a process of feeding data into the machines. They stir the data, go through everything, try and figure out what's, you know, what a dog is supposed to look like, or whatever the job is that the AI is doing. And then they do it again, and they do it again, and they do it again. And it's this long-term process of trying to figure things out.
Right.
Then you get to this inference machine learning, which is once they've kind of built those algorithms, once they have what they call a neural net that's designed based on that machine learning process, they can then use that neural net in real time, live, to apply what the AI algorithm has learned. And so you might use an AWS or something like that for a machine learning job that's over a certain period of time. You boot it up and it does its job and then it's finished. But anything that you're going to need to actually be continuous, it gets ridiculously expensive to do it on any other type of cloud platform. And it's also not fast enough. The type of computing that they use means that there's going to be delays. This is something that they can't really run that inference learning result in real time, or not easily. If you take a look at ChatGPT, it's fast, it's real time. When you enter something in, it spits it back out. But it's using a ridiculous amount of computing. Like, I mean, the stats on it are insane.
Well, so what I'm told by some folks that are involved in AI projects recently is that ChatGPT has consumed the information of the internet and is now adding captions to YouTube videos so it can continue to learn. Yeah. That is a lot of data, and I would not want to be plucking that out of AWS.
No. That being said, because the result is always text, and it's not something that's actually truly interactive, it can take a few seconds before it sends something off. It is possible to use kind of more standard cloud platforms, and they consume everything. They consume all types of different types of computing, cloud and otherwise. But when you need something like that's going to do real-time rendering based on machine vision learning, that has to be real-time, interactive, and that's not something that will run on a standard commodity cloud.
Did Zuckerberg ruin the metaverse?
In some ways, I feel a bit sorry for him, which I know sounds like a crazy thing to say, but I think he's a visionary and he's pursuing something that maybe he will fail and Meta will fail, but by him doing what he's doing, he's pulling a whole industry along, as far as I'm concerned. And we're all aiming for some of the same things. What he's released may not look great, but I certainly believe that the underlying intention is one that we're all going to end up fulfilling at some point. And with technology, with the metaverse, it's our destiny, as far as I'm concerned. Technology brings us along, whether we like it or not. And I think, yeah, they're doing things that others aren't, and we will benefit from it. Whether they'll be successful with their actual vision, I don't know about that.
Yeah, I mean, look, the market is definitely, the bloom on the whole metaverse idea has definitely come off. I get that. But I think it's because what people understand to be the metaverse, it got characterized by what Zuckerberg is doing.
Right.
The reality of what the metaverse is you may be experiencing the metaverse on your laptop, not necessarily through goggles. It's a spatial internet that we're talking about, and that's already happening now. They're using that technology not only to create spatial environments on the internet, and yes, you can experience it with goggles. Yes, you can experience it with AR glasses, but you can also experience it just from your laptop on a 2D screen. Whenever you go in and take a look at a car online, and you're able to get into the car and look around the car in 360 and all that sort of stuff, that's all driven by this metaverse technology, by game engines, by 360 cameras, by fully volumetric worlds and objects. That is what we're it's happening now. So yeah, I get that, seeing some avatars without legs floating around, and having kind of the motion sickness that you can sometimes experience inside goggles and all of this sort of stuff might lead you to believe that the metaverse is all a fad. Believe it or not, I can show you a great article from 1995 where it was a big name consulting firm. I can't remember. I probably shouldn't even say who they were, but big name consulting firm that everybody recognizes the name of, saying that the internet's just a fad.
Right.
And it's going to go away. Nobody's going to stop using, pen and paper, and it's this whole internet is just a fad. Obviously not the case. Digital twinning is part of the metaverse. The stuff that we're doing here, making commercials, making music videos with this technology. The Mandalorian used metaverse technology, used a game engine to run on an LED wall in 3D to shoot the Mandalorian. Right. It's happening whether you like it or not. Artificial intelligence is going insane. The technologies are game engines to do real-time graphics rendering and create worlds, artificial intelligence to be able to run those worlds, and then blockchain to be able to keep track of all the assets that exist in those worlds. Those technologies have not slowed down. They've only increased. The metaverse, don't call it the metaverse if you don't want to, but what it is coming whether we like it or it's happening now.
Definitely needs a rebrand. So my theory on technology has always been no technological breakthrough happens in reality until porn gets a hold of it, right? Cinemax, cable, streaming, the internet, VR. Like, how many people have bought VR goggles because they want to go to, YouPorn? So my question to you at the Volumetric Capture Studio is, have you had people tap you on the shoulder and say, so if we brought some Eastern European girls in?
Look, I don't know if you remember this, but our stage here is located at the Center for Digital Media, right between Emily Carr University and the Center for Digital Media University. Let's just say that that's not part of what we plan to do here at this stage.
Well, that's not the question. The question is the porn industry at the point where they're saying we're into volumetric capture?
Are they asking us? Oh, sure they are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the event that shows that now we have come.
Yeah.
No pun intended.
Listen, it has come up multiple times. There was a big investor who was actually looking at possibly investing if we went in that direction. We didn't feel that that was the direction we should go.
Especially as, you know, the kind of clients we're talking to, you know, whether it be the Disneys, the you know, robots, whoever, you know, they would not entertain a studio like us if we were doing that kind of content. But absolutely, like, the door has definitely been knocked, and there has been studios, which I won't name, that after hours have handed over their studio to production companies to do that kind of work. So yeah,
the time has come.
This is it.
If the porn industry's in, then everyone else should be in, because this
exactly.
I remember Second Life. The last people in Second Life were the furries, and the first people into VR, same crowd. All right, boys. So look, the last thing I'm going to talk about is your acceleration of your warrants. A lot of people online asking what this means. There's certainly a positive spin to be had on it, in that you'll be bringing money in the door. There's definitely a negative connotation for some, saying, you know, those warrants are now going to put a cap on your price for a little bit. Where do you stand on the decision to accelerate those warrants?
Well, it's a thank you to all of the investors that have come in to date. We have warrants, 50-cent warrants plus that expire this year. And, you know, market, as you know, has not been as kind as we would have liked. And we think that those investors that you know, had faith in AMPD coming in and got those warrants need to be rewarded and need to be able to see some of that upside. And so the idea there was, let's reprice those warrants. We didn't want to reprice them any lower than what we did the previous round at. Just, you know, wouldn't be fair to everybody who came in on the previous round if we did. And so we priced it at the same price as the previous round. So all those people who have warrants, there's some warrants that expire in April, some warrants that expire in March, and like something like 23 million warrants that expire in November. And so we want to give them an incentive that not only would they be able to cash those warrants in at a much more reasonable price at 14 cents, but they would get a new warrant at 20 cents, good for 18 months. And so, look, the idea behind warrants are to reward those investors that come in at these early stages in a company, to give them some upside. And we just didn't feel that it was right to see that upside expire. And you know, this allows us to continue to offer that reward and that upside to those early investors that came in. I mean, you know, we wouldn't be here without them. We wouldn't be here without people like you that have you know, in your community that have been, you know, watching what we've been doing and all this time. And so it was actually brought, you know, this idea was brought to me by one of our investors. You know, a local investor here in Toronto, here in Vancouver, sorry, said, look, you know, I've seen this done with other companies. It is something that's a bit of a process. You actually have to go and ask permission from the CSE. There's some investment in lawyers and everything else that has to happen before it happens. And then it just gets done when it's done. The timing of the release is a bit unfortunate. We had hoped to get some bigger news out that we have coming and things like that before it came out, so that the price would be a bit more attractive. But the program's still running until the 18th of March. And so, you know, hopefully we'll be able to get some more of that news out before the time that the program expires, and kind of show how what kind of a deal that we're giving to our investors. We still feel it's a deal. We still feel that, you know, we're giving, with the 20-cent warrant, you're getting that chance to participate in the upside later. But yeah, that's basically the process we went through for it.
Last question, and it's a potentially a prickly one, but are we done with this financings for a while?
Well, look, we're trying to do big things, okay? And this stage behind me, that wasn't cheap. That being said, and you know, I'm saying this publicly, and this might get me in trouble, but we can see turning cash flow positive this calendar year. We've gotten to the point now where the revenues have increased, the bookings at the Departure Lounge have increased pretty dramatically, the monthly recurring revenue being generated by the platform is increasing very quickly, and so we feel that we'll be able to get to cash flow positive this year. I don't think we I don't think we will be doing another private placement. Honestly, I think that we've kind of done as much as we should do from a dilution perspective.
Yep.
On that front. Let me just hang on a second. It looks like my laptop is. There we go. You know, will we do other financings? We have an acquisition coming, and we've announced that acquisition as a, you know, signing a non-binding LOI anyway for it. And so, you know, that comes with some financing. It's debt financing. It's backed by a national Canadian bank. It's not. There's no equity financing involved in that acquisition, though there is some equity for the company we're acquiring. But it's minor. It's not a. You know,
it's a positive sign. If an institutional lender is happy to present you money for the deal that you're making, it means that they see the upside in it, and a relatively small amount of risk. Yeah, and look, the security on that investment from the large bank is just against the resulting sub, right? So the value of that sub stands on its own. You know, so look, I never say never. I can't guarantee that there won't be a time where it makes sense for us to look for additional equity. But at this stage, that's not the direction that we're looking to finance our activities. We're trying to kind of, you know, minimize dilution and look only at strategic investments in ways that dramatically grow the company. If you can get to cash flow positive, that's going to be a game-changing event, I would imagine, based on stock price. Like you're at a place right now where it's almost cheaper to do business with you by buying you than having you consult. There are there's the market cap is not a reflection of what the company is doing. I know lots of people could say that, but like, yeah, I mean, I think we have deals that we're working on, not announced deals, just deals that we're working on, not that we're guaranteed to get them, that are larger in revenue than our current market cap. So yeah, you know, it is what it is. It's a reflection of the market and conditions as opposed to a reflection of what we're doing here at AMPD. You know, I often like to sort of take a step back and think, what does the market think of a company when the stock is down? Do they think that the company is incompetent? Do they think the company is in a tough spot? Do they think the company is running out of money? I think with you guys, the stock price reflects people just don't get it. Like it's what you're building is an Apollo program, tech-wise, and it's tough for the market to understand that you're not going through the wall. You're already through the wall, right? You're not having to invent something out of whole cloth that's already been invented. It's already out there making money, and you guys are at the forefront of it. I feel like when the market gets it, that it's going to be bonkers. I hope so. You know, look, we produce a ton of videos, a ton of explainers. I love doing these interviews with you, Chris, and getting to kind of just talk frankly. I remember when you came down to the stage with your iPhone on and said, "Hey, look, there's the real things right over there. It actually exists." We do these interviews in front of the stage so people can see it. It is a tangible technology. It's something you can touch. It's something you can go and watch the dark music video. No, you get discounted for that, right? You get discounted for having a real facility, as opposed to the guys that are like, "Oh, we too are a tech company. We bought some software for $1,200 and we sold it to somebody for $1,500. You know, yay tech." But the promise of those empty suits is almost more interesting to the market sometimes than the reality of we've got deals with companies that are large enough that we can't tell you who they are. I got another client that's in the infosec space, and they're like, "If I told you who we work for, I'd be arrested for treason." And the market is like, what are you going to do? Whereas if someone comes along and just says, "Oh, we're going to build the next $1 billion kettle," suddenly the market goes nuts.